Good afternoon, and thank you so much for joining us for this week's Thursday with AARP Wisconsin show. I am Amber Miller, your host, and please note that this show is pre-recorded, but still feel free if you have any questions or comments, you can post them below on our facebook.com page or our YouTube page. So before we get started with our guest, please remember if you have any questions or are looking forward to see what's coming up with AARP Wisconsin, we encourage you to visit the AARP Wisconsin website below, which is aarp.org/WI. You could see information about upcoming virtual events, volunteer opportunities, everything we're doing with advocacy and outreach. You can find it all there. Please also remember the AARP Friendly Voice initiative that started during the start of COVID. And you could do a couple of things there. You could request it for yourself or for a loved one to receive a friendly phone call from one of our AARP trained volunteers, because as we know, sometimes it's just nice to hear a friendly voice on the other end. It does, you do not need to be an AARP member. It is open to all ages and it is free. So once again, you can go to the website below or call 1-888-281-0145 for additional information or to register for a friendly voice phone call. And even though we are in a virtual world, hopefully we will start doing some events in person, but we're always looking for great volunteers to join the AARP Wisconsin family. So if you're interested in volunteering with us, both virtually and in person, you can find additional information, including an application to fill out at the website below, which is aarp.org/I-want2, so I want to volunteer. It'll take you directly to the application and also additional information about volunteer opportunities. Otherwise, you can find similar information at the AARP Wisconsin website. So today we are joined, we always love to highlight during the month the AARP Livable Communities Initiative. So today we're joined by Mike Watson, Director of Livable Communities, and we're going to be discussing the updated AARP Walk Audit Tool Kit. So welcome to the show, Mike.
Thanks, Amber. It's great to be here.
Thank you. Yeah. And Mike, of course, is located at our national office. So we're always excited when we can get some folks from the East Coast to be on our show. So Mike, so tell us a little bit more. This might be the first time our viewers are hearing AARP Livable Communities, but can you talk a little bit more about that initiative?
Yeah, so AARP, if you're watching today, you're probably a little bit familiar with AARP, and you may have had the good pleasure to meet Amber or Darren and others from AARP Wisconsin. But one thing you might not know about AARP is we're known as an organization that can send a lot of mail. We fight for our members on Capitol Hill and in state legislatures, but we also are working in hundreds of communities today, and we're working to improve them so that they're great places for all ages. And this work is led by AARP staff like yourself and others across the country, Amber, as well as volunteers who are working with local leaders, with nonprofit organizations to improve things like housing, improve the transportation options in a community, ensure that parks and public spaces are available and accessible for everyone, and ensure that sidewalks and crosswalks and critical infrastructure are safe, accessible, and anybody has the ability to cross the street, walk safely to where they need to know. So this work is done, again, nationwide in hundreds of communities by AARP state office staff. And I have the great pleasure to work in our national office, but work with my colleagues across the country and local leaders directly by providing resources like our AARP Community Challenge grants, publications like the AARP Walk Audit Tool Kit, which I think we'll talk about in a little bit, as well as technical assistance and resources through partners like America Walks and partners like Smart Growth America. So it's really a nationwide initiative that's supported by AARP across the country.
And I always get so excited when we talk about livable communities because it is true. I think a lot of people think of us, as just a membership or just discounts. And when they realize all that we do, I think it's very empowering of what people can do in their community. And Mike, how many communities or cities, I know sometimes people do states, are part of the age-friendly network, kind of about livable communities? If you could talk a little bit about that.
That's a great question. So one of the, as you mentioned, the age-friendly network is a network of communities across the country who have all made a commitment to become a place that is great for all ages. And it is a nationwide network that requires kind of a 5-year process where the communities will listen to residents' needs, build an action plan based on their needs, and then implement that action plan over the course of 5 years. And this is really driven by older adults' needs and priorities in the community. So today, there are over 650 communities across the country that are part of this nationwide network. It was first launched in 2012, and in the last 10 years has grown quite a bit. So again, we have roughly 650 communities that have kind of put up their hand, decided they wanted to be a place that's great for all ages, but also not just making that decision and not just raising their hand, but getting their hands kind of in the dirt and taking action to become a community that's great for all ages by addressing the things that I mentioned earlier, improving housing options, ensuring that there's kind of a range of mobility options in the community, looking at public spaces, looking at health services, communication and information, as well as respect and social inclusion, and ensuring that anybody of all ages feels included and is involved in the community.
And Mike, can you talk a little bit about if people want to learn, I'm kind of maybe jumping ahead, to see if their community is part of the age-friendly network, what website could they go to find that out?
Yeah, so if you want to learn if your community is part of the network, or frankly just want to learn a little bit more about the network, you can go to aarp.org/livable. We have lists of communities that are in the network, lots of resources to help explain the network to you, help you understand and kind of gain knowledge about what the program does and can do. We also have a map on there. It's aarp.org/livable map, where you can actually go in your state and find the communities that are part of the network. Click to learn a little bit more about where they are in the process, what they've achieved, what their action plan prioritizes, and also just kind of look at peer communities as well from Wisconsin or other states across the country to see where they're at. That map also has grantees from the AARP Community Challenge grant program, so you can look and see what cool projects your peers and other communities have done across the country as well.
Great. And if you are just joining us, please note that this show is pre-recorded. But if you have any questions or comments for our guest today, Mike Watson, who's the Director of Livable Communities, please post them below and we will make sure to get those questions to him. So Mike, I appreciate you kind of setting the scene of what Livable Communities, what it is and what the initiative is, because the next question that I have is regarding the toolkit, which really goes hand in hand with the age-friendly network and other work that we're doing. So can you talk a little bit about like what is that actually AARP Walk Audit Tool Kit?
Yeah, so we're going to kind of first start with what a walk audit is. So
Yes.
a walk audit it's basically an activity in which people kind of go around and observe and evaluate the walkability of a location. So how easy is it for you to walk safely? And what the walk audit allows you to do is to identify and document if and how pedestrians can safely travel across the street, how they can navigate an intersection and get from point A to point B and C, and maybe even all the way to Z. A walk audit can be done by an individual person. They can be done by a local leader, a mayor, a city council member, a member of a planning department, anybody, a member of an organization. They can be done by large groups of people, or really just as small as a team of just 2 people. And one of the goals of what they can do is they can gather input about community infrastructure needs and investments, also help educate residents about design elements that support safety. So if you want to take a group of folks who might not be as knowledgeable about what it means to be walkable on a walk audit, it's a really great way to educate and empower folks so they have the information about what walkability needs and how they can change their community to make their community more walkable. And finally, these resources like walk audits, we eventually lead to reduced traffic congestion and pollution, healthy and more active lifestyles, increased property values, and at the end of the day, what we're all aiming for is safer streets for people of all ages.
Correct.
So AARP produced this toolkit, the AARP Walk Audit Tool Kit. It's a free resource from us that contains information, like I just mentioned, as well as worksheets. So you can go out and do your own walk audit, organize folks from your neighborhood, your street, or a few streets over, call an elected official, and go out and do your own walk audit. There are printable worksheets in there that you can fill in, download. It's free to download and it's free to order. Folks will order hundreds of these to do walk audits in their community.
And Mike, I appreciate you talking about kind of how it benefits the community. And I can reflect, it was January of 2020, so right before COVID. I had the pleasure of participating in a walk audit with one of our local age-friendly communities here in Milwaukee County, which was Shorewood. And they wanted to do a walk audit in winter because we know in Wisconsin it's winter here more than any season, and then also a summer one. And when we did the walk audit, there was maybe about 30 of us, kind of broke into smaller groups, and it was just really eye-opening to see the amount of sidewalks that were not plowed or shoveled or salted, how much ice was on there, the amount of time that it took, especially in the winter. I think we all walk a little bit slower, but to cross the street, there's just not enough time. So they took that information to come up with a plan of like how they can work with small business owners and the city to ensure that, that the sidewalks are safe. And I know there's been other age-friendly networks that have also done the walk audit, but I just found it really like not only a good way to get feedback about walkability, but also to kind of get people together in their community to start talking about things that they, would love to see maybe changed or altered or edited.
I love that. And I think you're kind of speaking to some of the changes from previous version of.
Oh, good. That was going to be my next question, Mike. What are the changes from the original toolkit? And when was this toolkit updated? The newest one, when was it released?
Yeah, so as I was saying, the newest one was just released a couple months ago.
Okay.
Was redeveloped, redesigned, redone with input from AARP state office staff and volunteers and expert partners. And Amber, one of the stories you were just telling about kind of the impact of weather on walkability, something that this new version of the Walk Audit Toolkit covers. So our old version was around for years, and it did a very nice job of covering a lot of the things I talked about earlier, the core needs around walkability, the how to do a walk audit, but what it didn't really do well, and one of the things we've really improved upon is reflecting a variety of communities, reflecting a variety of walkability types. So the new toolkit has more examples and covers more places, like from rural communities to urban communities to suburban communities. We know that every community is different. Also covers important topics, starts to touch on topics like lighting and safety. And as you mentioned, Amber, has a kind of a special call out for walkability during winter months. We know that so much of the country, I'm originally from the South, so winter is much of a thing for me. I live in Maryland now, so winter's a little bit more. But having spent more time with my AARP state office staff colleagues in states like Maine and North Dakota and Wisconsin, winter walkability is a really important topic. So we've addressed that in this toolkit as well, so folks can kind of look at it with that lens. And then finally, what the toolkit does also is highlight more real on the ground stories with examples and pictures, really grounded in work that AARP state offices have done in communities. So we have, when you're looking through it, beyond kind of having the worksheets to do and having the kind of, the know-how to go organize your own walk audit, you can look at pictures from across the country and look at successful walkable community implementation efforts that have happened across the country, led by AARP state office staff and volunteers and community partners. So it's really a really kind of engaging tool for folks and really action oriented, which is what we're really hoping for.
The one thing too about when I did the walk audit, and I don't know if it says this in the updated AARP walk audit, but they also encouraged us to take pictures with our cell phone. So if we saw something that maybe didn't look right, or so then they kind of had all the, the picture and kind of the story behind it. So if they wanted to go to the city or an older person and say, there's, a crack in the sidewalk or what have you, you can kind of take those pictures. And I just thought that even brought more validity kind of to the whole walk audit. I really enjoyed that part, just taking pictures of things around.
I agree. I mean, there's the saying about, pictures of 1,000 words. And
Yes.
there's a lot more. And when a constituent is sharing that picture with a representative, It says a lot more than a letter or a phone call.
Correct. Absolutely. And Mike, can any community, city, county use this walk audit, even if they're not part of the Age-Friendly network?
Yes, and frankly, this is actually how a lot of the reason why AARP started working on livable communities issues across the country. We heard in some state offices were organizing volunteers who were noticing around their community that intersections, maybe around kind of gathering places like activity centers and other places, were just frankly unsafe to walk. So AARP volunteers and staff worked to organize walk audits with local officials and brought about that change. And this was before AARP kind of became the U.S. affiliate for the Age-Friendly network. So long way of saying, yes, you can download this free resource. It's available at www.aarp.org/livable. And we encourage you to go out, use it. Do some walk audits if you're a member of the Age-Friendly network or not. We've even had in recent years AARP Community Challenge grantees using the walk audit to go identify intersections, identify crosswalks, identify sidewalks that were unsafe, and then use that input gathered to inform a grant application to AARP. So you can use it no matter where you are, no matter what your community type, no matter if you're a designated community in the AARP Age-Friendly network, or if you're a small rural community to a huge urban community. Our neighborhoods are where we live, and we can use this tool to help improve our own neighborhoods and our own streets.
Great, Mike. I want to thank you so much for being on our show today. It's always great to have you on talking about livable communities, but this new release of the walk audit hopefully will inspire people who are watching this to maybe just do one in their own local community or neighborhood. I can only speak for, the city of Milwaukee. We know pedestrian safety is huge here due to just hit and run and accidents. But what a great way to put down the information that you're seeing within your neighborhood and have, valuable information that you can pass along to your older person or to your community. And hopefully it's just one step closer to, having a safer community.
I love it. Well, Amber, thank you for having me.
Thank you.
And you said the wrap up better than anybody could. So
Sorry. Great. Well, thank you again, Mike. We appreciate you being on today's show, and take care.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you. So, of course, we always like to give you suggestions on activities that might be of interest to you. So we'll bring that up. So Thursday, June 2nd, Movies for Grown-Ups. It's going to be an engineer Imagine, sorry. And Tuesday, June 7th is Supercharge Your Job Search, Networking and Interview Skills at the Cudahy Library. And I'll just put a little caveat. This is in Milwaukee County, which right now we are experiencing high level of COVID transmission. So when that does happen, sometimes we're not able to do in-person events. So I just encourage you, if you do register for this, just make sure to keep an eye out on your email in case it is rescheduled. Wednesday, the 8th, Fraud Watch Wednesdays, Imposters, Scams, and Gift Cards. Wednesday, June 8th, Movies for Grown-Ups again, Death on the Nile. And then Thursday, June 9th, another movie, which is Prince Philip, the Man Behind the Throne. And all of these are at no cost, and you can register below at the website or by calling 1-877-926-8300. Small Dollar Big Impact applications are open for June. This was started about 2 years ago, and it's a great way for nonprofits, municipalities, and similar to apply for a grant of up to $1,000 to do something impactful within your community that helps the 50-plus community. for up to $1,000. So something out of the box, innovative. We encourage you to look at the application for additional information or apply at going to the website below, which is aarp.org/WISDBI. Once again, that stands for Small Dollar Big Impact. Applications are due June 21st. And for next week's show, we always love to have our advocacy folks on. So we'll have Helen and Lisa on talking all things advocacy. So you can come back here next Thursday, June 9th on our facebook.com or YouTube page. So we want to once again thank you so much for joining us. Just as a friendly reminder, this is a pre-recorded show, but still please post your comments and questions below and we will make sure to get to them. So otherwise, I look forward to seeing you next Thursday, and until then, be safe.